Hey there, welcome to episode 156 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo, recording this at 10:25 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Greater Vegas on this Friday, February 20th, 2026. We tend to publish these episodes of Cafe Genius Impresarios on Fridays, sometimes in the morning, sometimes not. We might make it today. Today's title and topic, Means and Motive. If you can guess the third one, you're getting ahead of me. Episode 156. I believe this is the final episode of this season, so we'll commence a new season next week. That doesn't really mean anything. If you're keeping track, great. But it just means I create a new folder for my notes. Means and motive. If you're not familiar with the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program, or perhaps with Cafe Genius in general, let me tell you, you're in the right place to learn more. Cafe Genius was created, started being a thing in January of 2022. We were setting up the pitch workout room to begin the monthly Tech Alley appearance at 9 o'clock in the morning. So we needed to label it somehow. Okay, a pitch workout room by Cafe Genius. So Cafe Genius was a name I selected from a combination of Cafe Centro with two F's, Cafe Centro in San Francisco Bay Area. It's where startups start was their tagline. They were located in the South Park, literally a park with grass, trees, park benches, the whole nine, a quaint little coffee shop where somewhat famously, I suppose, Jack Dorsey could be seen on occasion with his laptop working on Twitter. I think there were some other, maybe less infamous, but equally important efforts going on there. Unfortunately, Cafe Centro did not make it very far after the pandemic. It's a sad day, but it was around for a while. I had been there several times. It's pretty cool. South Park is very near the ballpark in San Francisco. Currently, I believe it's the Oracle ballpark. It used to be the AT&T ballpark, and before that, I think it was the Pac Bell ballpark. I don't really pay attention to those sorts of things, but it was there. I was there a couple times to the Cafe Centro. And then Genius for the Genius Lunches, which used to take place in the downtown project part of Vegas, an ad hoc, random get together. Hey, what are you doing? You want to go to lunch tomorrow? With maybe a dozen people or so working on their stuff. It was just to take a break and remember to speak to other people sometimes, catch up on the gossip, what's working, what's not. Do you need anything? What have you learned? Just about an hour or two, and then back to doing whatever it was we were doing. I think it's a very effective way to maintain some social contact without committing an entire day or longer trying to figure out who to meet with or what's going on. And very unobtrusive. The Genius Lunch Reborn, Rebirth, Reboot, Re-something is on the table. We try to get it going in 2025, but it's still part of Initiative 2026 to just start reconnecting with people on the second story of the Entrepreneurial Innovator journey, if you will. Cafe Genius. The Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. That's with two S's. So cafe with two F's is a fine spelling. No accent. It makes it easier to type. And Impresarios with two S's, a less common but nonetheless correct spelling for the people who are doing the stuff, making it happen. We used to have interviews. We had a couple of interviews on this channel, and those will come back one of these days. I got to figure out the whole engaging people so that they can discover what we're working on and maybe even participate a little bit, from being a part of this audio program to participating in the Genius Roundtable to joining one of the communities of practice as part of the Genius Roundtable and a few other things. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, means and motive. Hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a description, a brief one reasonably sized sentence. And there's the links. There are the two normal audio program links and one, a little bonus. It's not really essential, but it's a Wikipedia link. We'll get to that in a second. So means and motive. Let's get started on this Friday morning. Summary. Chaos is opportunity. We have gone over this before, but what about means and motive? The other two components of the Entrepreneurial Innovator driving function. What about those? Cafe Genius homepage, Cafe, C-A-F-F-E, Genius, no space, Genius.org. cafegenius.org. Not an actual like legal entity, more of a club at this time, but it could very easily get pulled into one of the two nonprofit entities I have in Nevada. You only know about one of them right now, the Innovate for Vegas Foundation. cafegenius.org, definitely a work in progress, and I need to move over some of the old stuff about the pitch workout room, the pitch mingle, the meetup collaboratory. All those things can become a part of some other stuff. So stay tuned. Just keep listening to these programs. You'll be in the know. And the host profile page linking everything. If there were a guest, you can guess. So yours truly, the host profile page linking everything. buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. It's been around since March of 2021. So it's been around for a while, coming up on 5 years. You will find links to all of my audio programs, including other places to find them: YouTube, the Spotify profile page, the homepage for each one, if there is one, and there is. The other projects I'm working on, some affiliate links. You do not need to spend any money there. And also be aware that the Buy Me an Update audio program is published first at buymeacoffee.com/danhugo/posts, and then it is available through the other usual pathways, like a normal podcast. The link for today's episode, danger and turning point. Those are the two symbols found in the Chinese word for crisis. Crisis. This is sometimes, I talk about this next, but the exact interpretation of the two characters has sometimes been called into question. And I use this expression, chaos is opportunity, as I mentioned, frequently. So chaos or a crisis, is it an opportunity? Is it a turning point? Yes, all of the above. So first, opportunity. That's the one we always cover in one way or another. There's a quote sometimes attributed to Sun Tzu of the Art of War fame, or of Art of War fame. Is there a the in there? Art of War. The Art of War. Who knows? In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity, right? So chaos, opportunity, it's in there. There's also the quote from John F. Kennedy, president, former, concerning the Chinese written form of the word chaos or crisis, which I'm using chaos on purpose here, but or crisis, which includes a second character, which he called opportunity, but which is more likely correctly translated to English as turning point or change. This detail is in the Wikipedia article if you want to flip through that, the Chinese word for crisis. Taken together, the Sun Tzu and the written form and commentary, I personally think Kennedy was not far off enough to diminish the value of his assertion, and Sun Tzu may already have agreed in that assessment if that attribution is appropriate. So chaos is opportunity. Either way, it works. I use this reference all the time. I find that more often than not, there is some degree of chaos to be found in any scenario and at any scale, and this is most definitely true in the greater Vegas area across the board. This is most definitely the case, and I don't know that there are any arguments against, but I would like to hear them if there are. It's very much the case concerning the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem of Greater Vegas, which is, lousy with opportunity. You may disagree again, which means we disagree, and which is something we could talk about someday. I've certainly done episodes even recently on the chaos and coherence and cohesion or lack thereof in the ecosystem here. Some other appropriate things. We can talk. So let us suppose you would like to commit the crime of entrepreneurship, which we shall assume includes some innovation here in Greater Vegas. Let us stipulate the opportunity exists, and it pretty much does, depending on what you're aiming for. But there's a lot on the table here. So the opportunity exists in abundance. The question is whether you will have the means and possess the motive to complete the infamous triple: means, motive, and opportunity. So what about this? The means. There are two sides of this coin. Two sides to this coin, or of the coin has two sides. In my view, this means I didn't capitalize that. That's why I did that. The means, which is the topic of this section, found in the environment, and the means we possess ourselves. Okay, fix those. So the environment, our ecosystem has well, the environment is our ecosystem or vice versa, has the four pillars to which I refer frequently, though it is more fair to say that they are found at various levels of health and utility in our ecosystem. Quick review and summary. The pillars I always refer to by my definitions, at least. Some people could argue there might be 8, there might be even more or fewer. But the key four are access to capital, right? Everybody always wants money to invest or to be or to have invested in their endeavors. Government infrastructure, that's like roadways and internet access and electricity and water and public safety and all the stuff, right? All the stuff the government pretty much has the authority and the funding and whatever, the tendency to do well. I don't know, maybe. We could include schools in there, sort of, because we'll get to the fourth one. So culture and community is number 3. Innovation culture would be nice, but generally speaking, a community of people who are interested in seeing success, seeing advancement of causes, becoming interested in participating sometimes. If you want to have an entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, it's nice to have people around that are, if not participating directly, at least excited or interested or participating in some way in it. And a culture of innovation is where people just sort of maybe gravitate towards that interest, right? Hey, there's an opportunity to, and then you get people interested before you even finish that sentence. You might have an interesting culture of innovation there, and an interested culture of innovation as well. And finally, the talent pool is my fourth one. The talent pool, I used to say education, but I think education is, you can assume that, or it can be an optional element. Some people just have talent and they didn't need to attend a school or to learn something. They just kind of bring it with them. Or maybe they came here from somewhere else and somewhere else had education, or whatever happens. So even though school, education, infrastructure, and so on is part of government infrastructure, the outcomes will be a talent pool. They will be learned, capable. Maybe they'll have that intellectual curiosity. And it doesn't have to be like tech or STEM, or more broadly. It could be STEAM with the art thrown in, but it could be just about anything, any creative or interesting or innovative or just about anything. I mean, why limit it? Why constrain ourselves at that point? So the ecosystem needs those 4 things. Does Greater Vegas have these? Sometimes. And then there's our own means, which may include capital on hand if needed, the specific tools and information and whatnot essential to pursuing the endeavor, whatever it is, and maybe a co-founder, maybe not, depends. These are all the means we bring to the table, so to speak. Sometimes sufficient, sometimes not. This will depend sometimes on the motive, which we'll get to very shortly. I often use a Lego metaphor, as in the Lego building blocks, plastic blocks. Lego metaphor for this, where we imagine that there's a table with Lego blocks of various types spread on a big table, as in various types, as in it could be the little minifigs, it could be flat pieces of different sizes, it could be custom parts. So it could be the sort of box, it could be the single layer pieces, it could be the little boxes, 2, 4, 1 units. I don't know how do they express the sizes? Anyway. It could be little wings, or it could be little turbines or wheels or gears. It could be anything. It could be a whole mess of things, a nice distribution of possibility. So these are the means, at least the beginnings of them, to take an idea into an innovative phase where something novel might emerge, and on to implementation, which will probably require some of that external input like capital. And that's fine. It is important and useful to have the means to go along with an idea. Not everybody can be not everybody, not everything, unless you're building a person, not everything can be constructed, can be built with Lego blocks, but almost. I would point you to the Lego-based computer Sergey and Larry were using for the Google research in the earliest days before they actually formed Google and misspelled the name on purpose. I don't know. But what we have around us is sometimes where we begin, like the Wright brothers using the items in their bicycle shop to research aerodynamics and whatnot. We begin the journey with what we have on us, where innovation comes in handy. Oh, we could turn this bicycle into a sort of flipped version of a wind tunnel. Pedal faster. Actually, let us zoom in on that a little bit. The ability to make use of the means we have at our disposal is probably a hallmark of the entrepreneurial mindset, and where innovation leanings can really make a difference. This makes Software startups, one of those things that gets a lot of attention for other reasons also, like huge value multipliers, sometimes for no good reason. Since an idea, a laptop, and a nearby coffee shop may well be the means needed to launch a solo software company. And that was before AI entered the picture. Now you'll be done before you even leave to go to the coffee shop. Not everything, though, is a software startup. We should all be thankful for that. Just think about the coffee shop itself, which was a startup venture of a different sort at some point. I usually tell people, okay, we're here talking about startups, but we are in a startup. We are sitting in one. It may have come a long way since it was a startup, but at some point it was an empty room, suitable for tenant improvements perhaps, and a bright idea. And now we are sitting in it talking about our own bright ideas. The motive. I would argue that the motive is the more important of these two, means and motive, though all three probably converge upon one another. Actually, they kind of have to. The order likely varies. Now, to be clear, I mean, you can't really start a thing without the opportunity, right? Hey, I started a dirt company, but we already have dirt. Now, to be clear, this is not exactly the same thing as motivation. I'm using motive and motivation as sort of variations. So we probably think of motivation, where am I? Okay, commonly as the drive to do something, but it's really, motivation is the drive to continue doing something, I think. Or that's how I'm using it here anyway. The thing that powers an all-nighter, telling the story to anyone who will listen, being very excited and energized, taking chances, and so on. You need to be motivated to do those things. And sometimes you're not feeling motivated. So you might take a day, go to the beach, go look at the latest installation at the Bellagio Conservatory, whatever it is. Motive, though, is arguably the thing Simon Sinek is talking about in his first book and many presentations before and after, with the title, Start with Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. So clearly motivation falls from that, and so people take action because they are motivated. And they may be motivated by your motive. What made you start? I'm not going to split hairs, but I'm being clear that I'm using two sort of variations. They're the same word, I know that. But motive is the thing that gets you started. Why did I ever get into this? My motive was clear. To change the world, to make money, to bring about world peace, to solve world hunger, to create a better coffee shop, whatever it is, that's the thing. Maybe it's kind of like your thesis statement. And the motivation keeps you going through the good times and the bad. So motivation is in there in the inspirational drive sense, but it is also the basis of action, the reason. Thank you, Simon Sinek. I didn't link to his book. I've linked to it many times, but his name is Simon, S-I-M-O-N, Sinek. S-I-N-E-K. I think I'm saying that correctly. It's been a while since I've heard him say it. It's good books. Good. He's an interesting character. Maybe a little bit too optimistic sometimes, but somebody has to be. I have a few food truck stories. I go to this space for some examples because people who want to open a restaurant or to open restaurants in general can have their own motives, sometimes for revenue generation and profit, sometimes for a love of food and their concept. Maybe they're bringing classic family recipes from generations gone by to the world. Sometimes for a love of serving their customers, interacting with people, enjoying delightful victuals. And this is no more visible than in the food truck owner who has all the challenges of a restaurateur with the added challenges of location variation, code enforcement, that's people coming and giving you tickets and whatnot, fights with their brick and mortar counterparts, and that list continues longer than one might hope. The same applies to anything and may, for better or worse, bias the reasoning concerning resource requirements and whether we have the means to begin and continue the critical moment, if it is reached, where the shutdown is a real consideration and other options in a more positive direction. Why did I even begin doing this? What was my motive? And then you'll have to think about that throughout your journey. And again, I think that's a little bit different than your motivation. Your motivation might be to be able to pay the rent on your coffee shop this month. But the motive was always why you began this entire journey. It's a finer point. We don't have to dwell on it too much. And again, this motive is a part of the motivation to keep going through all of it. So now we close the book on that one maybe. So the motive, the why, is likely going to be a factor in hiring, pursuit of funding, and of course marketing, messaging, and even the ethos and mission of the endeavor as it evolves into a successful future. Fingers crossed. The means may be available or may come to be, the opportunity may change quickly and drastically, but motive is probably the thing that will, or maybe should, remain largely unchanged from when you started the journey. Is this always true? Well, we can look at a lot of the success stories driving our economy in the daily lives of most of us, and look to Google's original statement, for example, "Don't be evil," found in its corporate code of conduct and as their motto. This was removed with not so much fanfare, or although it was noticed, but they didn't make a big announcement at the time. I think they just sort of updated a web page and it was gone. Scrubbed perhaps, as profit and power become so much more than they may have been imagined, as possible as they could be. Imagined they could be something like that. Like, ooh, this whole "don't do evil" thing is really holding us back. Don't be evil, I should say. This could happen to you. It's happened to a lot of people, for better or worse. So putting these together, any good crime and any plausible entrepreneurial endeavor will likely benefit from identified means, motive, and opportunity. Certainly, these will be sought in pursuit of solving the crime. Anyone who's ever seen a crime, especially a courtroom drama, means, motive, and opportunity. Those are the big three. And how about our entrepreneurs? Are you preparing for a journey? Are you already on one? Maybe more than one? Multiple irons in the fire. It's a lot of work. I'm going to guess most of the time there is some opportunity, real or imagined, and so the motive to pursue that opportunity emerges. This is probably found in an engineering persona, myself perhaps, but others. I'm biased here. More generally, people who like to identify problems and propose solutions, and if they have an entrepreneurial bent, they will probably consider an opportunity, even a thin one, and they got ideas. And sometimes the motive is to see if it's, would this idea work? Could I solve this? Sometimes it's, I could make money by solving this problem. Maybe in the middle there, but usually you'll find that in the kind of the engineering or STEM mindset, or anyone with a certain degree of creativity and curiosity who will literally ask, I wonder if this would work. And there are other facets as well, but I found that one is kind of interesting. I have known some people who see an opportunity, a marketplace or demand, for example, and a motive to extract profit emerges immediately. Ooh, there's a gap here. We could make money on that, right? Do we need to solve it just well enough so we make money on it, right? So the priorities are a little different. I can appreciate that, though I cannot say I find that to be satisfying for myself. I love money just as much as the next person, but doing something that works and solving that curiosity, addressing it. I wonder if this idea would work. Ooh, it worked really well. And we can pay our bills. That's always nice. Your mileage may vary, of course, but I wonder if the various people driving startup scenes and the builders of ecosystems, if it's really possible to do these things. I've expressed my opinion on those. Do they measure these things to determine impact trends and so on? Like, are we finding more and more people with more motives that are about solving real problems, about observing marketplaces in search of opportunity? And that's the other thing, actually. Do you look for opportunities first, or do they find you? The food truck example I usually give my participation in that, and we'll touch on that at the end here. Like, I didn't go outside one day and say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go interact with food truck owners. It just sort of happened. I was curious. I went to a food truck event. I was curious. How does this work? Wouldn't this be a challenge? As I got to know more and more of the owners, because they're always moving around, I asked more questions. I saw some possibilities, some opportunity, and I took a real interest in I wonder if this could be done better. And it didn't hurt that there were food truck applications popping up out of all sides and all angles in the Bay Area and elsewhere, but also in the Bay Area, it was definitely becoming a thing. The apps were always horrible. Yeah. So I've known some people in Marketplace Demand, for example. Do they measure? I have a feeling that this one one of the core things that I see as lacking often is discussion of failure. That is, there was an opportunity. I had this motive. This was my plan. Eventually got some funding, and I had employees and whatnot. And so we had the beans. We established our, what we had on hand. We got started. We acquired more funding. We had more means, and then it just didn't happen. And I think If there was more analysis of the starting point, the means, motive, and opportunity, for example, then there may be some interest in what happens when things go awry. And then a complete picture of an entrepreneurial journey that does not work could be valuable. And I don't know that an entrepreneurial journey that worked in one place would not work in another place, or would work in another place. The circumstances, the nature of the opportunity might be different, etc. In my personal view, more should be made of some of these core features of the entrepreneurial journey. And remember, innovator is in there. So entrepreneurial innovator, innovative entrepreneur, could be either, maybe both, whatever. Certainly in those environments where building and cultivating are occurring, so that people across all of the verticals, from opening a retail shop to starting a services business to building a web or app platform, whatever it may be, and whatever form it enters the world, and there could be pivots along the way and so on. Awareness of how these three facets, means, motive, opportunity, appear in the journey or journeys of others, and of course how they might figure into our own personal journey or journeys, would almost certainly be valuable, perhaps invaluable, if we actually captured those, somehow presented them, made them available as part of an educational platform anyway, I've talked about that before. So yeah, we'll end final section with my own example, one of my own examples. Hint, it will be about food trucks. The mobile vendor marketplace in the Bay Area, where I moved to Vegas from the Bay Area in 2013. So I moved, I was in the greater Silicon Valley area. So I was in South Bay. The Bay Area is kind of a bigger, North Bay, East Bay, Peninsula, South Bay. I think for the purposes of food trucks, 5 or 6 counties, health departments, business licenses, all that. I was seeing substantial growth in the mid 2000s, like 2005 onward, although there were some food trucks prior. But the Koji barbecue, the whole LA artisanal wrapped food trucks, everything was kind of, because the Lonchero marketplace was already there, taco trucks. So there was the artisanal food. And by the way, street food vending has been around since the United States was colonies. It's been around for a while. So the notion of having something with wheels on it from which to sell food, drink, not new by any means, but in the 2005-ish, say, it was starting to catch on in the LA area with proaction on the part of the SoCal, Southern California, Mobile Food Vendors Association, the SoCal MFVA, to interpret right-of-way regulations that enabled street vending, or actually they were initially people were being cited for operating on right-of-way streets and they would get tickets and so on. So the founder of the SoCal MFVA, I'm totally spacing out his name, Matt Geller. I met Matt several times. He was an attorney, a young attorney, and he said of his friend who received a ticket of some sort, a citation for street vending, food truck, hey, I'm going to go to court and fight this. And so that was kind of the beginning of the beginning. So once they kind of got that, the relevant law, and I can't remember the number, but it was California DMV code concerning street vending. And it has a catchy number like 22233 or something like that, but don't quote me on that. It's in the annals of history somewhere. So once they found a way to have that reinterpreted so that right-of-way regulations actually enabled street vending, made it legal. Fewer citations, fewer hassle. So it made it easier for mobile food vendors to operate their businesses without facing the fines and the citations. So the Owners Association, SoCal MFVA, was helpful in continuing to argue, especially as they expanded the reach of their influence. More and more cities, more and more localities could actually offer vendors a place to conduct business without being cited, without being hassled, without getting in trouble, without being shut down. That's always a minus. So the Owners Association was helpful to just get the word out, to continue making people aware of how the laws were to be interpreted and so on. Helped people in other places, even far away, to change some rules. Chicago was a kind of an epicenter for some of that. There were some other places. And generally elevate and make more, increase awareness. How about that? Elevate and increase awareness to make its members more visible, the members of the Owners Association. And by extension, all mobile vendors. And, in a growing marketplace. So their efforts help to make it more viable. Portable variety, movable, what is it? Portable variety and social activation, movable social activation. In the Bay Area, the larger Bay Area, the greater Bay Area, I myself was building a web-based platform to enable booking and discovery because I had gone to a couple of food truck events, started talking to them, got interested in how the whole thing worked. And I will call it a new and different way, an approach that I was taking to what I was doing. Very favorable to small businesses. I'm not a fan of gouging small business, so no percentages and whatnot, flat rate, all that. And I would actually go to the food truck owners and show them a demo. I would go to food truck events. Does this look usable? So kind of a co-creation model. So we, judging from the SoCal MFVA impact on their marketplace, we found that forming an owners association fit into this approach. So I could help form the owners association. And then the software tools I was building could be available to the members of the owners association. This wasn't a big nefarious thing. I told everybody this. I said, hey, this would help me. Why are you doing this? They might say, this would help me because I've been building the software. My goal is to offer it to food truck owners at $10 a month, right? You should be able to pay the $10 by selling 2 extra plates of food one day or something. So, but I want to get as many customers as possible so that I can make this happen. Why? What's the motive? To see if it would work. Am I going to be getting rich from food truck owners paying me $10 a month? Probably not. But as an experiment and as a satisfying adventure, if it worked. But even if it didn't work, that would also be good to know, right? So my motive was pretty straightforward. So forming the Owners Association fit this whole approach. And so we worked with the SoCal MFVA. I met with Matt several times, like I said, to form the Bay Area MFVA, Mobile Food Vendors Association, in collaboration with their organization, and we had a statewide organization, which I think was California MFVA. Thus, there was an opportunity to make a difference. Just the way, here's the status quo. Here's how we could make it better, more interesting. Certainly as an experiment, a learning experience. My own motive was to see if the intricacies of the mobile vendor marketplace and the customer discovery and engagement process and how all the interactions took place and so on. Oh, follow us on Facebook. What if I don't use Facebook? I saw that happen all the time. Could these be addressed? And if an owners association would be a useful element of this overall experiment, it turned out to be fairly easy to do. And of course, the means were easy to acquire in the form of connections to vendors and an interesting story to go with my laptop computer to build and deploy on a regular basis to have people try out the idea. It was pretty straightforward. Definitely a learning lesson, one that I will speak in more detail about another time, though I have before, actually. But it'll fit into some other things I'm working on as well. But that's the deal. I think means, motive, and opportunity are not always highlighted. I think opportunity is usually in a pitch deck. I think means are sort of underplayed a little bit unless it's a team as part of the presentation, kind of what we're bringing to the table. But you don't want to oversell or undersell. So I don't know if the means always make it into the details, but it is part of the story. And the motive, well, if you're pitching for investor money, it's always to make them their money back. Sometimes you can align on motive, on ethical and moral grounds. Like, we align on our reasoning for doing this, but people still want to make their money back. So as soon as you're pursuing funding, making money has got to be one of the motives. Well, you could always make what is it called? Not a corporation for good, is it? Corporation for good? Public good corporation. I think that's what it is. So, but investors still tend to want their money back. But that's the idea. I just thought I would touch on this. It's been something I've been thinking about lately. Why do any of these things? Why are we going to have a Smarter Smart City challenge? Why do we have the Innovate for Vegas Foundation completely volunteer? So Smarter Smart City Challenge, also driven by our volunteer organization. We're the facilitators, fiscal sponsor. Why do I do these things? I don't know. No, I do know. We'll talk about that some other time. But anyway, thanks for listening as always. Don't forget to check out the Buy Me an Update audio program for updates on Mondays for the previous week's audio programs and any news and announcements upcoming. You can listen, or you can find all of my audio programs linked from the buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo profile page. You don't have to spend any money there, but anything you do spend there goes towards coffee and coffee accessories, which is what powers these various productions. Thanks for listening. Have a good weekend whenever you're listening to this. Take care. Bye-bye.